I like science fiction, and a while ago I watched a series called Torchwood. The series was called Children of Earth. I know within myself that I tend to overthink things, right? And I'm wondering if in this case I am. What disturbed me was what decisions were made behind closed doors. So in a nutshell, Torchwood is a British sci-fi drama series. In the series I watched, Children of Earth, it was about an alien presence that had come down to Earth, specifically in the UK, and it was demanding 10% of the world's population. Now keep in mind that it's science fiction. So it was demanding 10% of the world's population, specifically 10% of the children. So world leaders came together in London, and there were these closed door meetings to discuss what could be done. So keep in mind that this alien presence would not negotiate. It wanted specifically 10% of the world's population of children, and if it did not get its needs met, then it would set off some kind of virus, right, that would wipe out humankind. So the world leaders met, and this is what they were up against. In watching this, I kind of got a little bit disturbed, not because of the whole alien presence or what they would do if they didn't get it, because that's typically, sci-fi, man against alien, blah, blah, blah. What disturbed me was what decisions were made behind closed doors. The world leaders got together and had to make a decision. So when they realized they couldn't negotiate, then they had to then discuss, okay, how they were going to give 10% of the population of their country to these aliens, and specifically 10% of the children, right? So at the table, it began like a first stage. There was that general discussion, about how immoral this whole thing was. How would they be able to do this? And knowing that it was children, how would this look in the eyes of the public? Those kind of things, right? And when it became very clear that there was no room for negotiation, there was nothing that could be done, then the next phase of this discussion was now on, okay, so we're going to give 10% of our population of children, but not mine, right? So these are the things that came up. The world leaders sat down. There was a general agreement among this round table of people that yes, they would give up 10% of the children, but not theirs. Those who had children created some level of immunity for themselves, right? So now that was done, they started to get into the fine details of how they would select this 10%, all right? So, and this is what I found disturbing and interesting. but more disturbing, right? So what they did was to kind of rationalize, okay, when these children grow up, what will they be? What role will they play in society? How relevant will they be for the future? And in asking those kind of questions, what they did was decided that the children that came from families that were pretty much poor, working class, had questionable lifestyles, were orphans, were juvenile delinquents, those kind of labels, right? Those children would be the ones that they selected because according to them, they were the ones that were expendable, right? Those were the ones that they anticipated that when they became adults, they would be a drain on society. And how would they determine that? They will go to the schools that functioned the least, okay? So the ones that had the most troubled students, the ones that were not meeting, I guess, state standards, they would start from those schools and select those students. How they would do it, I think it was they were going to put out like a PR, public relations type of campaign to say that they were going to vaccinate the kids or do something to them as a group, and they would physically take them from school to whatever site they had to go to be taken by these aliens. Remember, this is sci-fi, okay? Troubling? I don't know. Are you troubled yet by this? Yes, it is sci-fi, but I was watching this and I was like, wow, look at how quickly that decision was made. Look at how quickly they defined a category of children and said, okay, if we have to give 10% of our country's children, then let it be this group, right? So, as I mentioned, they use the term expendable, and I'm just quickly going to define that, right?
Expendable, of little significance when compared to an overall purpose and therefore able to be abandoned.
And Google says, of little significance when compared to an overall purpose and therefore able to be abandoned. Other keywords, synonyms: dispensable, replaceable, inessential, unnecessary, non-essential, replaceable, non-core. And that is the adjective, a descriptive word, expendable. I wonder at what point when you watch these TV shows, okay, does life imitate art or art imitate life? I think I may have been overthinking this show. It's sci-fi, I get it. I wonder if at any point in time, any point in the future, or even any point in the past, has there been closed door discussions where our leaders have had to make decisions like that? No, not so much because of an alien threat, but just in terms of looking forward and say, okay, there's a dire situation, we have to control it, and in order to do that, then we have to sacrifice X amount of people, and if it hasn't been done, the way that you see the world is going now, will there ever be a time when a situation like that may come up, you know. And that's why I'm thinking that, wow, I'm wondering if any one of us were at that table, at that closed door meeting where we had to make dire decisions, you know, would we have gone through those phases? Science fiction, you know, life imitating art, art imitating life. But what do you think? If you haven't seen the show called Torchwood Children of Earth, watch it and give me some feedback. Pay close attention to that closed door meeting that went on among all the leaders and see how they came to the consensus that they did. Very interesting. Or maybe I'm just overthinking.